Thank you, Representative Barborak. It's interesting, given how much Republicans distrust and disdain government spending, that in fact they're making it more difficult for taxpayers to see how in fact their money and their resources are being used. If we believe what they have to say, you can't trust anyone who's working in government and the manner in which they're spending your money. As a result, you would expect that they want to make it as easily accessible as possible for taxpayers to see, in fact, how are your tax dollars being used? How are your land and water resources being used? Are we giving them away to people who make the largest campaign contributions to the members of the General Assembly or to those who run for statewide office, or in turn paying back those campaign contributions with public favors in return for those continued campaign contributions? Clearly a good question to be asked. We can look to the folks at MediaTrackers.com, certainly not a liberal organization, who seem to align with those of us in the Democratic caucus who, again, are saying, why are Republican elected officials, the governor and the legislature, trying to hide our ability to see how our money is being spent? At the end of the day, as a corporate health care attorney, I recognize and value the fact that but for the tax dollars that are shared with us from the taxpayers, we don't have any resources. Those resources aren't owned by members of the General Assembly, whether that be the Speaker or the President of the Senate or the Governor. Those are the resources of the citizens of the state. And the only way for them to see what their return on investment is for those of us in government to make sure that we do it in such a transparent way that they can determine whether or not when we are giving tax abatements or when we're spending tax dollars on charter schools or public schools, they can see their return. Unfortunately, what we see in this government is in fact an incredible effort to hide how your resources are being used. And if you're anyone, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, all this effort to hide how your money and resources are being used should raise a red flag. And I think for all of us, whether we be Democratic members of the legislature or the author of a MediaTracker.com article, we all are a bit shocked with the efforts that are being made to hide your money. And in fact, when we see an organization like Jobs Ohio, who's getting millions of dollars in contributions and then turning around and running campaign-style ads, whether it be on television or through the mass media, we have to question whether or not this is just a way to skirt campaign finance laws and use those dollars to, in fact, tell people things that may or may not be accurate, because if we don't have a transparent way to track your resources, we can't tell you whether or not your money is being used wisely. If you are a citizen in this state, you should be livid about the fact that your government right now, your elected Republican leaders, think that you should trust but not verify the manner in which they're spending your money. I now want to turn it over to my colleague, Representative Carney.